everybody. Welcome back to Daddy Daughter Talks, where my dad and I talk about all sorts of topics. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and drop your comments or suggestions below. Now, before we get into our topic today, here are some dad jokes.
Dad joke number 1. How many South Americans does it take to change a light bulb? A Brazilian.
Oh my gosh.
A cheeseburger walks into a bar. The bartender says, "Sorry, we don't serve food here." Okay.
I see.
I used to play piano by ear. Now I use my hands.
Yeah, saw that one coming.
Yeah.
All right, now let's get into our topic. Today we're going to be talking about homeschooling. Like, what is homeschooling and the pros and cons of homeschooling and all that stuff.
What is homeschooling?
Yes.
Are you a homeschooler, first of all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been homeschooled a lot of my life.
Tell us about when you've been homeschooled, when you haven't.
Well, I was homeschooled up until fourth grade. I was homeschooled from preschool to fourth or something like
Okay.
that. Is what I remember. And then from just last year and this year,
And where'd you go after your homeschooling first initially?
I went to a private school, and
What is it?
the name. I went to Rosehill Montessori, and I loved Montessori school because it was super hands on, and I was able to learn a lot better there. I felt like, and then after that, I went to a charter school, Answer Charter, and then after that, I did online school for 8th grade, and then 9th and 10th have been homeschool co-op.
Okay.
So it's a little bit different than when I first started homeschooling.
Yeah. So what is homeschooling?
Yes, that's what I was trying to get into. Homeschooling is basically when you don't go to public or private school, like you have school at home, or there are things called homeschool co-ops where a bunch of homeschoolers will come together and there's a bunch of different teachers and things like that.
Yeah.
But like I guess traditional homeschooling would be your parents are your teachers and you just do school at home.
Yeah.
So a lot of people I think have like stereotypes of homeschoolers have no social interaction and they're just like
Yeah.
weird people just
Well, you are weird sometimes.
yeah that's me. But I think that we still there's still social interaction. I mean, if you do sports, which I did some sports but not for very long, and if you go to a homeschool co-op, there's a lot more chance of finding like interaction and friends and stuff, because at homeschool co-op it is like basically like a school where everyone comes together and does different classes. But there are a few differences. Like you get to choose your own classes, like what you want to do, and you just pay each individual teacher.
Yeah. And so the schedule of homeschooling is typically just kind of whenever your parents
Yeah.
decide to do the homeschooling.
Yep.
You know?
You just wake up and then,
Yeah.
you don't have to wake up at 6 or 7. Like you can just wake up whenever you want and get everything ready and then go and sit down in a really comfortable chair,
Yeah.
not like a desk or something.
Sometimes you have, because it's easy to get in a bad habit of sleeping in later
Yeah.
and later, and so you have to be, somewhat, self
Disciplined.
self-disciplined.
Yeah.
And, make that.
There is definitely a like idea of you still have to be, self-motivated, self-disciplined,
Yeah.
because it is the whole thing about homeschooling is it is a lot of you, like you are a big part of your schooling, kind of, and that might not be how everyone does it.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how I felt, is like I was responsible for, and I am right now, responsible for my schooling. So it's like I have to be able to get out of bed and do my school and stuff. And I go to homeschool co-op right now, so it's different. It's like obviously I do have to get up at a certain time, but it's still pretty flexible.
So we have done our homeschooling very different, obviously.
Yeah.
A lot of people who homeschool have a very kind of strict curriculum and have really very high standards when it comes to homeschooling. Like they have all their math, they have all their, things that they're ready to go into college by 16 or 17. And depending on the homeschooling, a lot of times we've got some really smart homeschoolers and who are really ahead of it because they're
Yeah.
not spending all this time doing these social things in class and just all the whatever types of things they work. And you work and you can get your work done in like 4 hours and then
Yeah.
you're done. But with our types of classes that we have chosen for you, our primary focus have been things that you are interested in,
Yeah.
things that you want to do. And because our emphasis has not been that you're that we really even desire for you to go to college,
Mhm.
which is kind of crazy for a parent to say that because that's typically, oh, my parents have told me to got to go to college and
Yeah.
got to get the degree and got to be, back in my day, getting a college degree was more useful and definitely beneficial. And then my parents' age was way more beneficial,
Yeah.
but it's not becoming that beneficial now. But if you ever wanted to, you can do that. Go to a you want a career that you need a college education, then go for it. But there's also trade colleges, trade schools like plumber and electrician. It's like you want a guaranteed job out of college, then that's the way you want to do that. And they make some really good money. It's like people have philosophy degrees. They got out after 4 years and they have $250,000 in debt and they work at McDonald's. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be able to get a job. And so we just have never thought that college was that important for you, and we really wanted just to find things that you're interested in. So the classes are very different than a lot of people. So, what are some of the classes that you've taken over the years?
A lot of the classes that I've taken relating are related to my passions. So, videography, well, video editing at first. I did a DaVinci Resolve video editing course. I remember that. And then just recently I've done video production and also mostly just like electives. Like I have writing and I have um like I don't know what else. I have apologetics, a few other things like
Yeah,
that.
one of the other benefits is that we have the choice of what classes you do, and your co-op
Yeah.
is you have all these Christian classes that you can actually do, like apologetics, like you would went on Joshua,
Yeah.
a study on Joshua, and things like that. So
Yeah, exactly. I love those classes. Like I take like the Bible study and then the Great Commission and all these other Bible classes which are really good cuz I never really had that in my other schools cuz they weren't like specifically Christian
mhm.
schools or whatever. So, yeah, going to a Christian co-op is nice.
How many math classes have you taken in the last year and a half or 2 years or so?
Um I
Zero.
do not know.
Zero. Okay. Huh.
uh
So some
yeah.
people will say, "Oh, I can't believe they're not going to have math skills." It's like, well, you have math skills. You can do multiplication. You can do those type of basic things. It's like, oh, you can't do trigonometry or geometry. It's like the amount of times that you need that in your life is so minuscule that we'd rather teach you things that are more, um, like more everyday types of
I am
skills.
so grateful for that. Yeah.
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 You still know how to
Mm.
like leave a tip easily, like
Yeah.
no problem, like percentages and all this kind of. So even though you could have more math training and classes, we just haven't seen it as that important.
And like science and like chemistry and stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like that's more like specialized. Like I think
Mm.
like when am I ever going to use that kind of science in my
I know.
like especially if I'm going to do videography,
Yeah.
like oh yes, the atoms of the air, like what
And
it,
people will say, "Oh, expand your mind." It's like, okay, that's expanding your mind in a very specific way that the
yeah.
government has decided that they think is valuable. Well, what their idea of valuable and what they want you to do with your life is very different than what we want you to do with
Yeah.
your life. And as an employer, I also know what people are looking for workers,
Mhm.
for the type of workers I'm looking at just quality workers.
Yeah.
I don't really care what their background and their history is. Now some jobs you do. You're like, hey, you need to have this
Nurse.
understanding, but a lot of things you don't. And so if you just are a responsible person, you work hard, you do quality work, that's what most employers are looking for. So you can have zero experience, which even in college, you have a 4-year degree in business management. We'll try to get a job as an administrator or a business manager anywhere. Like, well, you don't have any experience. Well, I got a degree. Well, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
That's people say that you need that to get jobs, but that's not true either. So, and you have some really good skills. Like you've done video editing,
Mm.
you've done managed a YouTube channel for like the last 5 years. So you're learning like marketing, you're learning just how things, work, how to get, people's attention, kind of like an influencer type of a thing.
Yeah.
And also you've been doing bookkeeping for our company for you and your brother
Yeah.
have been doing bookkeeping for the last year and a half
Mm.
and learn a lot. Like what 16-year-old does bookkeeping for their company and does payroll and invoices and
Yeah.
Medicaid reimbursement stuff and all of these same things. So you have a lot of really valuable skills that I think a lot of people would love to have coming out of high school. I mean, you still got a couple years before people traditionally graduate from high school. So let's talk about pros and cons then.
Yeah. I think we've already kind of mentioned some of the pros of homeschooling, like the flexibility,
Mm-hmm.
just being able to wake up and do like I said, homeschool co-ops are different, but you get to choose your class, so you have if you don't want one in the morning, you can just not choose the one in the morning.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can wake up whenever. Um, you can take a break whenever, you know. Usually, even in my like co-op, we can just leave class and use the bathroom if we need, even if it's in the middle of class. Most of my teachers are like, oh yeah, totally fine. Like, it's very flexible. It's not like you're staying here, and it's not, and some co-ops might be stricter, but at least
Mm.
mine is not. So that's definitely a pro.
I think
Um,
one of the other pros, because this is one of the main reasons that we chose homeschooling, was so that you didn't have the influence of other kids probably
yeah,
at school, because a lot of times there's some pretty rotten kids, at school. Not everybody, but there is that, and people get bullied or people just they learn these things that are that they shouldn't be learning. They're influenced by the culture.
mm,
And as a Christian, it's like we want to influence the culture. And when you're young, you don't know how to do that. And you're learning to just build yourself up first and know what to believe in, know that there's truth. Doesn't mean schools are teaching there is no truth.
yeah,
There's, boys and girls don't, they're just, you can say you're a boy, you're a girl. Oh, well, can I say that I'm 29 or I can say that I'm 150? Can I, it's like those types of things and the indoctrination that the schools are pushing on kids with
mm-hmm,
trans agenda, all sorts of things of just like to not think for yourself, just accept what the authority tells you to do. There, go to class, you go take this, you take this test, everything has to be done by the government and be approved. And
yeah,
so instead of like being able to think for yourself, and especially after COVID and all of that stuff, it was like, hey, let's start thinking for ourselves a little bit
yeah,
and not be, this stuff shoved down our throats. So that was
mm-hmm,
probably the number one reason why we wanted to homeschool you, was just to get away from the influence.
and it's gotten worse. Like it wasn't as bad when I was younger,
Yeah.
like as young.
And there's a lot of people who don't, maybe they don't experience those things. That's
Mm-hmm.
great. But
Yeah,
I mean, how many people out there have not experienced those things? And whatever. That's like you're going to experience that in life. But it's also that's not the influence, that's not what molds you. And
yeah,
when you're molded by, horrible self-image and all of these lies, just constantly being told these lies, it's just really bad for you. And then when people, it seems like a majority of kids these days are just rotten, a
yeah,
lot of kids. And part of it's their parenting, and part of it it's their friends and the culture, because they listen to the music, and the music industry is so evil, um, and all of these things, and they just allow these things to influence them, and we didn't want that to influence you. And then when you are strong enough to combat those lies,
mm,
then great. Now you can go out into the world and do that, but not
yeah,
when you're growing up and you're so vulnerable in that state. So you can tell people, okay, hey, this is what the truth is and whatever. But when you're bombarded by it, it's like watching TV or listening to music. You're just having those messages constantly in your brain,
yeah,
constantly, hundreds or thousands of messages per day. And by saying, "Hey, that's a lie," that doesn't do a lot.
Mhm.
And until you can really see that stuff, and then you really go, "Wow, this is crazy." The type of influence like the culture has on the kids, and then the kids have on other kids,
Yeah.
and then the government and you know, of just saying that they want, you know, I let me choose how I want to raise my kids.
Yeah, really.
Government has no say at all in
Yeah.
that.
They're not
And
your kids. Stay away.
yeah, and one of
Not
the great
yours.
things about requirements of Idaho is there are no requirements.
Yeah.
You can teach them anything you want at all. You
We
don't have to
love
have
Idaho.
math, you know, unless you have like funding by the federal government. But with money comes strings, and strings attached. Then you have to. But we don't want that. That's the whole point. We want no
Yeah.
strings attached to the government types of things. So, but that's great. As you could graduate 16, we can create whatever we want as a transcript, and it's an official transcript.
Yeah.
And so, love Idaho for that fact that we have that. Other states, you can be like put in jail for like homeschooling your kids, and
Yeah.
in certain countries too, like, oh no, you can't
You
train
can't. Like,
your own kids. Like, whoa,
you can't teach your own.
crazy,
What?
crazy concept. Yeah.
So
So those are
stupid.
the pros, and then the cons. What are the
Um.
cons?
Well, there's like if you are thinking of going to college,
Mm-hmm.
it is sometimes harder. It can be harder for certain colleges to accept if you have a homeschool, like high school graduation thing, diploma
Transcript. Yeah.
transcript. That's one of the cons, which I'm not looking to go to college, so it's kind of like, yeah, it doesn't really matter to me, but some people might be, and so that could be a con. I mean, you have to be self-motivated, self-disciplined. If you are um, traditionally homeschooled and you have a lot more say in your own learning, or you're more responsible for your own learning, then you do have to have self motivation, self kind of perseverance to be able, like, I'm gonna get this done, and I'm not gonna just procrastinate or whatever. And
Which
so
could be a pro too, because if you're practicing that all
yeah,
the time, whatever, I guess you can have that with
school,
public
yeah,
school as well. But it seems like there's a more hand holding, and oh, you do this and you did that. But whatever,
yeah,
you can. It really depends on the person.
yeah.
If you want to have good grades and whatever, then typically you are going to be self motivated. But it does. It's hard, but it also kind of teaches you to do that.
That's another thing. No grades.
Yes, not necessarily. Some of your co-op
Yeah,
classes do.
some of my co-op classes have grades.
Yeah, so that's a pro.
But I've yes, but I've since I grew up in, like, my Montessori school didn't have grades. I don't know if Answer had grades. I don't remember there being grades. So, like, I grew up in this thing where it was like, yeah, grades aren't. I mean, do your best, but grades aren't important. Like, if you get like a C, but it's like, I tried my best, and it's kind of like, okay, whatever. Like, I don't ever worry about my grades, which is really really good, because I know a lot of people who stress a ton about their grades, because that's what they've kind of been taught, like, really important, and that
Now,
is for some people.
some homeschoolers do have grades.
Yes, some do.
So
Not
that
me.
is not really not a saying that because
That's my experience, as
yeah,
I don't have grades, and so
exactly.
it was really nice for me.
Yep.
That was my pro, was that, like, I don't have to worry about grades.
Yeah.
I kind of went off track for the cons, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So what other cons?
um, for traditional homeschooling, not a co-op, it's really hard to find friends. I know this pretty much from experience. I think if you are doing just always at home, and you never go to another, like a co-op or something. I mean, unless you have friends in the neighborhood that you know well, it's hard to make social connections. Like, for me, I mean, I never really had social media anyways, or anything like that.
Which isn't necessarily social connections anyway.
Yeah,
But, you know.
I know, but
Yeah.
it would still be like, okay, you can at least talk to people online and stuff.
Mhm.
But when I was homeschooled and like homeschooled, I had, like, what, two friends? Like, I had, like, the neighbors across the street. Like, that
Yeah.
was it. Like,
Which is great because that
yeah, it
you
was
still
great. But
every day play with each other. But
yeah,
it wasn't, if you didn't have them, then you would have basically, I don't have any friends.
exactly.
Or
So that's a big part of it, especially for me, was like, I'm very social. So not having that is a big kind of, like, thing. So I would say, if you are doing traditional homeschooling, do, like, there's groups that are homeschool groups. There's, like, board game groups or something. Go to those, or sports if you do sports.
But do you have friends?
Yes, I do, but a lot of them, like, I have. I mean, I have for all over. But when I went to private school, I had some good friends there.
Mm.
Um, And now that I'm at a co-op, I found some good friends there, and I found some from like church gatherings, some of my old churches. So there are places where I've just kind of built some
Yeah.
friends, you know.
There was a time there where it was like it was difficult
Yeah,
because
I had a very difficult time where I just felt like I had
and
no friends.
part of that is when we were traveling, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah,
But
yes,
yeah,
stay tuned. Uh,
what other cons?
well, some people have a difficult time with their parents being their teachers. Again, this is like a traditional homeschool. Um, some people aren't close with their family, I think, as well. So, with their parents being their teachers, I could definitely see that being a problem for some people.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's just the closeness too, because it's just difficult when you're,
Always together.
it is. It's like it's tough. I think
Yeah.
about the times before. It's one of the reasons we actually went back to like more of a private school type
Yeah.
of thing was because it was just difficult.
Yep.
When somebody else is telling you, it's better than when it's like your parents. Like we
Yeah, I
really
know.
don't like
What is it
listening.
with your parents?
I know.
Um,
So
but
that
yeah,
is a big thing for parents and for kids. And no
vaguely.
sports, like without like finding an outside.
Yeah, because there's not like school sports.
Yeah. And then I think probably one of the last ones is that not all parents can homeschool. Like
Yes.
they have, two jobs and they can't just stay home and not, get another income. Like it's hard enough to make it with two jobs. So um, I think that was part of the government's plan is to have
Feminism.
both parents working and so that they can't teach their kids and then the government gets to
Yeah.
indoctrinate your kids. So
And because I've heard stories of people who are like, yes, I really want to homeschool my kids. The public school system is horrible. I can't.
yeah. So about your experience, um, you've talked about your flexibility.
Yep.
And then one of the cool things we were able to do was we sold our house
Oh,
and we
man.
traveled for 11 months. And you were just doing an online curriculum, right?
Yes.
So how was that? And while we were traveling?
I did get grades on that, I'm pretty sure. But it was just this online thing. Not even like on Zoom because we were going to be in different time zones, so it didn't really work. You just watch a video and then you like take the test. And I did like a full math, full science, full math course. That was 8th grade. So I got caught up to there. Yeah, it was okay. I liked having the ability to kind of do it whenever cuz we'd be like out doing stuff while we were traveling, going and looking at places, and then I could just come home and do my video and do the test, which I actually did like that. The hard part was that I couldn't ask questions
Yeah.
because there wasn't anybody there to answer. But I do kind of like that format. But the only problem is the interaction with humans,
Yeah.
other humans other than my family.
Mm.
The traveling was good, and I was really grateful that I could have, that opportunity because I think at that time we didn't really have a school that we were thinking of anyway,
Yeah.
right?
You guys usually did your homework in the morning. After lunch, like we go out, do lunch.
Yep.
Hopefully all your homeschooling was done by then, all
Mhm.
your schooling. But sometimes we had something planned for the day and you just did no school at all.
Yeah.
And we did, we traveled Dominican Republic, Costa Rica, Mexico for a month and a half, and then we went to, around the US a bunch
Yep.
and went to Turkey, Croatia, and Ireland, Israel, Egypt.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it was just fun. Like I remember one time we went to play pickleball in the morning and
Mm.
you guys were just doing your homework and doing your stuff and we were gone until like 4 o'clock and we didn't
Oh,
even
yeah.
tell we're like call you at 4. We're like, hey, we left before you guys even woke up. And
Yeah.
like, so hey, we're still out. We're heading home soon, and we just had this awesome, day. It was
Yeah.
great for us. And then, you guys, it's just like being at home, but instead of just sitting at home and whatever, we go and walk in another new city or new
Well,
country that we hadn't,
you
experienced.
walk outside and it's just like completely different.
Yeah.
You're not in your normal neighborhood or whatever.
And then you get your stuff done sooner than we can go to the beach, go belly boarding or
Or
whatever
what
it's
was it?
called.
Bodyboarding. I think.
Bodyboarding, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So it was really fun. That was a great experience. Other than the social deprivation, but
Yeah.
yeah. Like just all the places we saw was
Was really
like
cool.
yeah, really cool.
And we're going this again this summer.
And we went last summer.
Yep, last summer we
Yeah.
visited and you got to meet your
Got to meet
your
my friend.
really good friend that you never met in person.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, what did we do last summer? We did
Germany.
we did Turkey, Georgia, Norway,
Oh, I forgot about Germany.
Switzerland, and Germany. and I visited my friends in Germany. That was
Yeah.
awesome. So
See, that was social interaction. That was a little
yeah,
bit different. And it was also not as long. 11
yeah.
months is kind of like,
We were gone 7 weeks, I think.
yeah, that was
Yeah, and
great.
that's not every family can do that because then the parents have to work too,
Yeah.
or one parent has to stay.
Yeah.
But in our situation, that's not the case.
Yeah.
We're business owners, so how do you like your homeschooling overall?
I loved homeschooling. Yeah. I love, um, like right now, I love, just being able, the flexibility. I did not have that in private school. It was like a 8 to 3 sort of like, pretty strict schedule. It wasn't that strict, but it was still strict.
Yeah,
So I love homeschooling, and just being able to learn whatever I want. Like you just YouTube, you know,
yeah,
stuff like that. Private schooling, like I said, love Montessori because of the hands-on tools. Like I probably learned everything the best there. Like
mm,
it was so helpful to have all those tools in front of me because
mm,
I'm a visual person, which makes sense because I like videography. Um, but that was really good. Had some good friendships there. It kind of that's what I remember most about my like childhood years, like schooling wise, is Montessori.
yeah.
So that was a big influence.
And that was a unique experience. It wasn't like a normal private school. It wasn't like a public school
Yeah,
or a
exactly.
charter school.
Yeah.
Those were not good, necessarily good experiences.
Mhm.
But Montessori was a really good. It was really small, like your,
It was a house.
and they had like fourth through sixth together, and
Mhm.
then they just split up based on certain skills and stuff. But in when you were sixth grade, you had two people.
Two people. And when I was in 4th grade, there were two people in 6th grade too.
Oh,
So there were 2 years,
two people. Imagine two
two
people.
6th graders.
Well, I graduated class of two people,
Yeah,
so you get
exactly.
a lot closer. It wasn't. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just easier when you have so many people. Then a lot of stuff can get hidden, and a lot of bad stuff can happen. Yeah, and it's a little expensive for people
Yeah.
if they're paying for that. The one thing we didn't talk about was other classes you're doing now
Yes.
is the college class. So you have 3 classes at College of Western Idaho.
Yes.
And what are your classes that you do there?
Digital photography, video intro to video production, and multimedia storytelling.
Yeah.
Yes. They're dual credit, so high school and college. And I'm the youngest one, like
Yeah.
in all my classes. It's,
Yeah.
it's like,
And
just
you're
like,
killing it. So
yeah.
that's good. Like you get help a lot of the college age kids
Yeah.
with their stuff because you've been doing this for years. So this is
Yeah.
not, you're not really, besides using Adobe when you're usually using
Yeah.
DaVinci. That's the
I
only difference.
prefer DaVinci. DaVinci is
Yeah.
much better. It
But
just
really,
is.
you for your editing class, you would know how to do everything
Yeah.
in the class immediately, like from the beginning. So
Yeah.
and then next semester, so because we can do whatever we want for homeschooling, we're thinking, really you're kind of doing just college level classes. Not necessarily doesn't have to be college level. It's just
College
those are
class.
classes that have the co-op is doesn't have the classes any next
Yeah.
semester that are really you've kind of done all of them.
Yeah.
There's very few options there, unfortunately, and so we're thinking of doing Boise Bible College and either graduating you, but then their requirement is that you have to be 17, in August, which you're not until December. So they may or may not let you in, but maybe you can do co-curricular, and then in January in the spring semester, then you can do like as a normal student. Wherever there is more learning that you enjoy, and that and also to become a better human being,
Yes.
and to find your purpose and those types of things, then that's what we pursue, and we want you to pursue. So
Yes.
and I kind of want you, to think more of like a business owner type of thing instead of just as an employee. I kind of think, the one topic you hate talking about more than anything else
Why?
is AI for some reason. But I believe that in 3 to 5 years, there's really not going to be jobs around. Like AI and robotics are going to take everything.
Mm.
So then, like, what do you do?
Yeah.
People have gone to their school their whole lives, and they go to college, and they come out with $250,000 in debt. They're a slave now because they're debt is slavery. Then like there's no jobs. Now what? So
Yeah.
then you just want to be a good human being, that you're pursuing your passions, you're serving God, and
Yeah.
just living life to its fullest. That's it. So
I know.
and I don't know what that means for, money wise, but you have enough skills that you could make a living in certain things until all the jobs are gone. But for now, though, good place for you to be. And we're really glad that you're you are where you're at. We get to hang out and spend a lot more time too.
Yeah.
We can do stuff early, like hey, it's Mondays we go do our dates on
Yeah.
lunch a lot of times instead
Yeah.
of waiting to dinner or 3 o'clock.
I love that kind of closeness. I have a lot of friends who are not I mean, they're not very close with their family. It's also just like they don't spend as much time
Yeah,
as we do because, again, I mean, we've traveled together, we've been homeschooling, we are like together a lot more. So,
and we don't have to work like
yeah,
so
exactly.
that's the thing
Exactly. Like
'cause
they're always home unless they're
yeah,
like
so
out, like
most
pick them
people
home.
can't do that. That's just not in a
Yeah,
possibility. Like
I
they
know.
have to have a job, they have to have something. So
Exactly. So we're just really lucky and blessed for that and to be able to kind of live how we do live and be this close and
yeah,
have all the opportunities that we do.
yeah, exactly. We are very thankful for that as well,
Yeah.
and how that's affected our relationship as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. That about wraps it up. Thank you guys so much for listening. Again, please hit the like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.